An avoidant will commit to another person over you for these 5 reasons. The first is that they feel less pressure from that person. They feel like they don't have to emotionally open up or be vulnerable or have to deal with any conflicts when they're with that person. Now, this is not anything to do with you in the sense that you're doing too much or you're causing this. This is simply them internalizing how the relationship is with you, and they're looking at that other person and being like, they're ideal to me because I don't have to deal with that in some way or some form. This is them escaping the reality of what the relationship needs, because chances are you have been doing everything that you can to try to make this work, and you've been presenting this to them in a way that is trying to be cordial with them, but they simply are taking that as an attack, as you trying to push too far. So they end up going and committing to that other person, which is frustrating because that person isn't doing anything, not even half of what you're doing. It just seems like they are just a completely different person, and they just commit without any questions asked. The second reason is that the relationship is still on the surface level. This is usually viewed as like the honeymoon stage with any relationship, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, or friendship, whatever that looks like, it's still on the surface level. That person has not spent enough time with this person to really have those in-depth moments and to have, conflicts potentially come up or trying to get close with them. So to that avoidant partner, they don't have a deep connection to that person. Usually it's still kind of this surface level where they're cordial with them and they're not super close with them. So you see this happening where they'll just seem to fully commit, but in the background they're not as close to them, they're not as connected, and that also can frustrate you because you're more connected to them and you've shared so much more, but yet they're just so willing to just jump and go to that person and just commit to things and do things that you've been just asking for years for them to do. The third is that their avoidant patterns may shift for that person. This is usually tied to the relationship in the sense that there's not really them having a huge connection, and they're somehow able to kind of push aside the avoidant tendencies that they have. And that can be so frustrating because that just proves to you that this is something that they could work on, that if they spent some time, they could make things work out. And you've been over here, walking on eggshells, just trying to meet them where they're at, just try to get there to be some kind of progress. And when they go to this person, it's like they do everything that you are asking them to do and more. And that's where you have to kind of understand that this essentially is to do with how that relationship is formed and shaped, but it also has to do with the fourth reason, and that is they want to prove a point. Chances are you guys have gotten to some kind of argument or just trying to talk it out where you're expressing how you're feeling. You're trying to tell them that they are closing off to you, and anytime that you try to open up to them or get close, they're simply pushing you away. And that frustrates them because you are calling out their behaviors, and it's valid, and they know that. That's why they have such a reaction to it. But to them in that moment, they want to prove to you that that's not them, and they also want to gain that control again. So they'll go out and go to that person and do everything that you guys have been talking about to try to manipulate you to see like, look, I'm able to do it. It's you. It's not me. I'm able to do it with this person, but it's all an act. Because if they were serious and genuine and would actually take that relationship serious too, they would do the same exact thing once it got close, once it started to evolve. And that's what they're trying to avoid happening, because they again want to manipulate it and put it onto you. They want you to feel like you are the problem so that you will commit and do what they want. And that's what becomes so frustrating and irritating, especially in the moment, because there is going to be a part of you that's going to question it, because you're like, well, let's look at the common denominator, right? Like, they're able to do this with other people sometimes, and why are they not able to do it with me? It must be me. I must be asking too much. I must be pushing too hard. But it's not. You have been doing everything that you possibly can, going above and beyond, and they simply are trying to do this to get a point out, and they're going to try to play chicken with you to see if you're going to just come back to them and say, I'm sorry, let's just work this out and continue to do what you guys have been doing. Which segues perfectly into the fifth reason, is that is they want to take control back of the relationship. Chances are when you're in this point, you are trying to get to having some kind of middle ground with each other. You just want you both to understand each other and try to work on a real relationship with each other that involves you guys getting close, opening up, expressing emotions, maybe even addressing some conflicts that you're having, and they don't want that at all. They realize that their control is starting to dwindle. So they're doing, as a last ditch effort, an extreme to kind of test you, to try to see if you're gonna, react and, make the first jump into trying to get them back and, trying to submit to what they want. And this is what you have to really understand sometimes. And again, I don't want to paint all avoidants in a bad picture, because some of them genuinely are struggling with this and they're trying to make strides to do what they can to work this out. But this particular person that we typically see is that they're, again, trying to maintain that power. They're trying to take that and take control of it, because they don't want to deal with the things that they need to do to actually make the changes, to actually heal, because they are challenging. And what a lot of avoidants have to face and realize is that they did this to themselves. A lot of times they're looking at outside circumstances, and although they may contribute, they're not the 100% reason as to why this person is the way that they are. They have internalized this emotion. They have not done the things that they need to do to heal from it, and they have to realize, like, this is the only way. They have to, number one, want to actually make the change, and number two, take the actions. And that might be them going to therapy or trying to take some little increment steps with you that will later on add to a bigger change. But again, this is all on them. But in this moment, you'll see them trying to make it look like you are the reason. You are the reason why all of this is happening. And essentially, that is them trying to take control of the relationship, which is ultimately an illusion, because you at this point most likely can see through that. I hope you did enjoy today's video. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.